Have you ever stood in front of your closet, holding up a blouse or a pair of pants and wondered, does this still look right on me? Not in a vain or superficial way, but in that quiet, personal moment where you're not just choosing what to wear, but deciding how you want to show up in the world. Because the truth is, what we wear says something, whether we intend it to or not. It whispers a message long before we speak. And as we grow older, that message becomes even more powerful. This isn't about following fashion trends. It's not about looking young or impressing others. It's about something deeper, about dignity, about self-respect, about walking into a room and feeling like you've shown up. Not just with clothes, but with presence. Sadly, some choices we make with our wardrobe, often out of habit or convenience, might be quietly saying things we never meant. They might be hinting that we've stopped caring, or worse, that we've let go of our sense of self-worth. And I know, nobody wants to believe that a simple cardigan or an old pair of shoes could carry that kind of weight. But they can, and they do. I've seen it again and again, not just in others, but in myself too. Moments when I've worn something just because it was easy, even though it didn't really feel like me anymore. And every time a little piece of confidence slipped away with it. You see, fashion after 60 isn't about being stylish. It's about being seen, truly seen, for who you are now. And yes, that might mean letting go of a few things that used to feel right, but no longer serve the strong, wise, beautiful person you've become. It might mean making a few small changes that have a surprisingly big impact, not just on how others perceive you, but on how you feel about yourself. So in this gentle conversation between us today, I want to share a few of those small but powerful changes, 8 of them to be exact, not to judge, not to criticize, but to help you feel even more like yourself, to help you walk out the door each morning with a quiet kind of pride, the kind that doesn't need to shout or sparkle because it already shines from within. Some of these things might surprise you, some might feel familiar, and some might even feel a little uncomfortable to hear. But that's okay. Growth often begins with honesty. What matters is that you're here, listening, and open to seeing yourself in a new light. So stay with me. I promise by the end of this video, you'll not only know what to avoid, but more importantly, what to embrace, what to wear with joy, what to choose with confidence, and how to reflect through your clothes the depth and dignity you've earned through a life fully lived. And hey, if any part of this feels helpful or speaks to something you've been thinking about lately, I'd love for you to leave a comment and let me know you're here. It means the world to have this space where we can share these gentle reminders together. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I'd be so grateful if you did. It helps us keep creating thoughtful content that's made just for you. Now let's begin, because sometimes all it takes is a small shift in fabric, color, or cut to say something entirely different about who we are and what we're still becoming. Of all the choices we make when we get dressed, the fabric we put against our skin is often the most overlooked. And yet, it's one of the first things people notice. Not in a loud or obvious way, but in the way something hangs, the way it moves, the way it quietly says, I care or I don't. As we get older, comfort becomes a priority, and it should. But somewhere along the way, we sometimes confuse comfort with compromise. And that's when the trouble starts. There's a kind of fabric that feels soft in the store, looks okay on the hanger, maybe even boasts about being easy care or wrinkle resistant. But when you put it on, something feels off. It shines too much under the light. It clings in places you'd rather it didn't. It doesn't breathe, doesn't flow, doesn't let you move with the grace you're used to. And worst of all, it makes the entire outfit look cheap. Not because you paid little for it, but because it lacks the quiet elegance that a life like yours deserves. I remember watching 2 women walk into a cafe one afternoon. Both were in their 70s. One wore a soft cotton blouse with a graceful neckline and sleeves that moved with her as she reached for her tea. The other wore a synthetic top that clung tightly to her sides and reflected the sunlight like plastic. She looked uncomfortable, though she tried to smile. But the contrast was clear, not in their beauty, which they both had, but in the way their clothes supported that beauty or worked against it. You see, fabrics like polyester, blends, shiny synthetics, and overly stiff materials might seem like a practical choice, but they often betray us. They wrinkle in all the wrong places. They highlight folds and lines we'd rather soften. They shout instead of whisper. And in doing so, they draw attention away from what really matters: your face, your story, your presence. That doesn't mean everything synthetic is bad. It means we need to become more selective. Hold the fabric up to the light. Feel it between your fingers. Ask yourself, does this bring dignity to my day? Because there's a big difference between a shirt that looks neat and one that looks like it came out of a discount bin, even if the price tags tell a different story. People may not always notice a good fabric, but they almost always notice a bad one. And when they do, it doesn't stop at the shirt. They form impressions about your standards, your attention to detail, your sense of self. It might not be fair, but it's real. That's why choosing natural fibers like cotton, linen blends, or soft knits can be a quiet act of self-respect. They breathe, they flow, they age with grace, just like you. Elegance isn't about looking fancy. It's about honoring the body that has carried you through so much. The body that's loved, grieved, danced, created, and endured. You deserve clothes that move with that story, not fight against it. So the next time you're shopping or standing in front of your wardrobe, pause for a moment. Run your hand over the fabric. Picture yourself moving through the day in it. Ask yourself, does this speak well of me? Not to impress others, but to reflect the pride you still carry within. Because every thread tells a story, and yours should be one of wisdom, care, and quiet confidence. There's another subtle message that our clothes can send, sometimes even louder than the fabric itself. It's in the branding, the oversized logos, the bold slogans, the flashy names stretched across a chest or down a sleeve. Maybe once, years ago, these felt like a badge of pride, a sign you were part of something, that you had the good taste or the means to wear what others admired. But as the years pass, what once spoke of status now risks whispering something else entirely. At this stage of life, the logos we wear shouldn't speak louder than the lives we've lived. A shirt doesn't need to shout a brand name across your chest to make you interesting. You already are. You've earned that. Every wrinkle on your face has more character than any designer's font. And yet I still see so many older men and women, good people, kind people, wearing clothes that look like walking advertisements for youth they no longer need to chase. Think of two gentlemen, Leonard and Gary, both well into their 70s, both arriving at a Sunday brunch. Leonard wears a simple gray pullover, clean and understated, that allows his natural ease to shine through. Gary, however, wears a bright hoodie splashed with a large, trendy brand across the front. He smiles, he jokes, but something in his outfit pulls focus away from the quiet wisdom in his voice. It's as if his clothes are trying to say something about him, something that doesn't quite match the man inside. That's the thing. Logos aren't evil, but when they dominate your outfit, they often do more harm than good. They draw attention away from your face, your eyes, your presence, and instead place it on something mass-produced and meaningless. You don't need a soda brand or a sneaker company to validate who you are. And frankly, no one past 70 should feel the need to advertise for a corporation when they've spent decades building a name of their own. There's grace in subtlety, a soft pattern, a rich tone, a classic fit. These don't shout, they speak. They say you're comfortable in your skin, that you're not trying to prove anything, that you've lived long enough to know that true confidence doesn't need a label. And when you wear clothes that carry that kind of energy, quiet, grounded, intentional, people notice. They may not say anything out loud, but they feel it. They feel drawn to you, not to your outfit. They listen more carefully, engage more deeply, because you're not hiding behind a brand, you're showing up as yourself. So the next time you reach for something with a bold logo or a trendy slogan, pause. Ask yourself who it's really for. Are you wearing it because it brings you joy? Or because it once did? Are you leaning on the logo to feel relevant? Or can your words, your presence, your history do that for you? Because the most attractive thing you can ever wear is self-respect. And the beautiful truth is, you already own that. You don't need to buy it printed on a shirt. Sometimes the real message your clothing sends has less to do with what you're wearing and more to do with how it fits. It's something many people overlook, not out of neglect but out of habit, or even a kind of quiet loyalty to the past. That favorite pair of pants from 10 years ago, the shirt that used to fit just right. We keep them, we wear them, and sometimes we forget to ask, does this still suit the person I am today? Because when clothes no longer fit well, they do more than sit awkwardly on your body. They start to tell a story you may not mean to tell. A shirt that droops off your shoulders or pants that bunch up around your ankles might suggest you've stopped caring. Or worse, that you're trying to disappear. On the other end of the spectrum, clothes that are too tight, buttons straining, sleeves squeezing, fabric pulling with every movement, can create a different kind of discomfort. Not just for you, but for the people around you. It's not about judgment, it's about perception. And perception matters, whether we want it to or not. I once watched two friends, both in their 70s, walk into a community meeting. One wore a button-down shirt that skimmed his frame just right, paired with trousers that rested neatly on his waist. The other wore a shirt that looked 2 sizes too big and pants that sagged at the knees. Same age, same energy, same purpose for being there. But the way they were received felt very different. One drew attention with quiet authority. The other faded into the background, not because he lacked presence, but because his clothes muted it. There's dignity in dressing for the body you have today, not the one you used to have or the one you wish you still did. And that doesn't mean you need to chase trends or spend a fortune on tailoring. It just means being honest with yourself. Standing in front of the mirror and saying, does this still reflect me? If you've recently lost weight, gained a little, or simply changed shape over time, as most of us do, it might be time to reevaluate what's hanging in your wardrobe. Clinging to clothes that no longer fit is like holding on to an older version of yourself that no longer serves you. And when you let those go, you make room for comfort, for confidence, for movement. You make room to walk through the world with a kind of ease that others can sense before you even say a word. Because when your clothes fit well, you move differently. You sit taller, you walk more steadily, you smile without having to adjust your waistband or tug at your sleeves. People may not be able to name exactly what's changed, but they'll feel it. And in a world that so often overlooks older adults, a well-fitting shirt or pair of pants becomes more than just clothing. It becomes a quiet declaration. I'm still here. I still care. And I still carry myself with pride. If you've been wearing something for years just because it's familiar, I encourage you to take a second look. Maybe it's time to part ways with pieces that no longer support the strength and beauty of the person you are now. Because clothes that fight against your body never win, but clothes that honor your shape, your presence, and your movement, they remind the world and you that you're still living, still growing, and still worth dressing for. There's a quiet kind of weariness that settles into our belongings over time. We see it in things we use every day. Our favorite armchair, the teacup with the small crack, the old shoes by the door. And while there's nothing wrong with a little age, with a little use, there comes a point when what once was cherished starts to look neglected. This is especially true with shoes. Yes, shoes. They may seem like a small detail, just something to slip on before heading out. But shoes carry us. They meet the ground before anything else. And whether we like it or not, people notice them, especially when they're falling apart. Scuffed toes, peeling edges, soles worn down so far you can feel every pebble through them. These aren't just signs of use. They're signs of how much you're still showing up for yourself. I once met two gentlemen, Harold and Dennis, both in their 80s. They were sitting on a bench at the park, chatting about their grandkids. Harold wore a simple pair of leather loafers, polished and clearly chosen with intention. Dennis had on sneakers that had clearly seen better days. The laces frayed, the color faded, the heel almost flat. And here's the thing. Dennis didn't look any less wise, any less kind. But he looked tired, not in spirit, but in presentation. And the shoes, unfortunately, spoke louder than the stories he told that day. There's something deeply symbolic about taking care of your shoes. It's a message, not just to others, but to yourself. It says, I still value where I'm going. You don't need the fanciest pair, or the latest style. You don't need to spend a fortune, but you do need to choose shoes that say you're still present, still grounded, still walking with intention. And let's not forget the practical side. Old, worn shoes can be unsafe. They lose grip, support, structure. And for those of us past 60, a bad fall is never just a fall. It's weeks of recovery. It's bruised pride, shaken confidence, and sometimes even a long road back to mobility. So yes, caring for your shoes is about dignity, but it's also about protection, about ensuring every step you take is one of security and care. And I get it. Sometimes the thought of bending down to tie laces, of navigating stiff shoes, can feel like a chore. But the good news is there are so many beautiful options out there now. Slip-ons with support, lightweight styles with grip, designs that are both elegant and easy to wear. There's no need to choose between comfort and looking put together. You can have both. Next time you step outside, take a glance at your feet. Do your shoes still tell the story of someone who's walking forward with pride? Or are they holding you back, quietly suggesting that maybe, just maybe, you've stopped paying attention? Because here's the truth. The way you step into the world matters. And the shoes you wear, however simple, however understated, can lift your confidence or slowly wear it down. Choose the ones that lift. Sometimes what ages us isn't the big obvious things. It's the details. The little accessories we wear without much thought. The belt we've had for decades, now cracked and curling at the edges. The glasses that served us well 20 years ago, but whose frames no longer suit the shape of our face or the time we live in. The handbag with frayed stitching, or the old hat that once felt classic but now just feels tired. We hold on to these things because they're familiar, because they've walked through life with us, and perhaps because replacing them feels unnecessary. After all, they still work, don't they? But here's the thing. Accessories may be small, but they speak loudly. They complete the story your outfit begins. And if that story starts strong, graceful fabrics, a well-fitted jacket, but ends with a worn-out bag or outdated specs, something feels off. People might not be able to name exactly what it is, but they feel it. It disrupts the harmony. It chips away at the image of someone who is present, thoughtful, and in step with the moment. I remember meeting two women at a community event not long ago, Norma and Alice. Both were in their mid-70s, both with warm smiles and elegant posture. Norma carried a soft leather handbag in a neutral tone, the kind of accessory that doesn't shout, but subtly says, "I've still got a sense of style." Alice, on the other hand, clutched a tote bag covered in cartoon graphics from the 80s, its handles stitched together where they'd torn long ago. It wasn't that Alice looked bad, but something about that bag pulled her appearance backward, away from the grace she carried, and into a kind of visual confusion. And I know, these things can carry sentiment. Maybe the glasses remind you of a special trip. Maybe the belt was a gift from someone who's no longer here. But when something you wear begins to weigh down your confidence or send the wrong message about the vibrant, evolving person you still are, it might be time to let it go, not out of disloyalty, but out of self-respect. Updating accessories isn't about chasing fashion. It's about aligning the outer with the inner, choosing a new frame for your glasses that flatters your features, replacing that old belt with one that sits comfortably and quietly blends in, picking a bag that feels solid, clean, and dependable. These aren't frivolous changes. They're small acts of renewal, reminders that while you honor your past, you are still fully rooted in the present. You deserve to feel composed, to look in the mirror and see not someone stuck in time, but someone who's lived through decades and still knows how to adapt. Because aging well isn't about clinging to what was, it's about refining what is. And sometimes that starts with a new buckle, a polished watch, or a different pair of frames. So the next time you reach for that familiar item, ask yourself gently, is this still serving me or just standing in for a version of me that I've already outgrown? If your answer is the latter, consider this your quiet permission to let go and welcome in something that reflects who you are now. Color is one of those things we often take for granted. We choose a shirt because it's clean, a sweater because it's warm, and before we know it, we've built an outfit without once thinking about how the colors work together, or don't. But here's the quiet truth. color speaks. Not in the way bold prints scream from a distance, but in the way a soft blue can calm or a deep charcoal can command quiet respect. And as we age, the colors we wear begin to matter even more. Not because we need to follow any rules, but because harmony matters more than attention. There's a difference between standing out and standing proud. The first is loud, unfiltered, sometimes jarring. The second is steady, confident, and deeply felt. And when the colors we wear clash, scream, or overwhelm, they don't just distract others, they distract us from our own presence. I've seen it too many times to count. A kind, thoughtful person walks into a room, but their outfit is shouting so loudly, neon orange with lime green, busy prints that battle for attention, that you can't hear what their face is trying to say. I remember two friends, Earl and Samuel, both well into their 80s. They met every Tuesday for coffee. One morning, Earl arrived in a navy cardigan over a soft sky blue shirt, paired with beige trousers. He looked relaxed, clear, put together, like someone who'd taken a gentle moment to care for himself that morning. Samuel showed up wearing a fire truck red jacket, green pants, and a yellow cap. He wasn't trying to be loud, but the effect was almost cartoonish, and you could see it in his body language. He adjusted his sleeves, looked uncertain, smiled too quickly. The outfit had taken over. It wasn't celebrating him, it was hiding him. Color isn't just visual, it's emotional. And when we choose hues that clash or confuse, we send out signals that we may not even realize. It can look like we're trying too hard to hold on to something, or that we've lost touch with what suits us now. That doesn't mean you need to dress in grays and browns for the rest of your life. Not at all. But it does mean tuning into what brings balance, not chaos. There's incredible strength in simplicity. Earth tones, deep blues, soft greens, gentle creams. These aren't boring. They're trustworthy. They bring out the glow in your skin, the brightness in your eyes. They let you speak without being drowned out by your clothes. Because at this point in life, your presence should be the most vivid thing in the room, not your sweater. So take a moment the next time you dress. Lay your outfit on the bed. Look at it as a whole. Do the colors speak kindly to one another? Do they make you feel peaceful, or powerful, or calm? Or are they just loud for the sake of being loud? And more importantly, do you feel like you in them? You've lived long enough to understand the value of restraint. You know that some of the most beautiful things in life don't need to shine or clash. They just need to fit. And color, when chosen with care, becomes a kind of quiet power. It reminds the world that you still know yourself, that you still show up with grace, that your life doesn't need decoration, it needs reflection. There's one last detail we need to talk about, something many people don't notice until it's already said more than they meant to. It's not the fabric you wear, but what that fabric might accidentally reveal. I'm talking about see-through clothing, invisible undergarments. Those small oversights that can quietly undo an otherwise thoughtful appearance. This isn't about shame. It's not about being overly modest or following some outdated dress code. It's about control, about intention, about making sure that what you choose to show the world is truly what you want to show. Picture this. Two women, Darlene and Rose, both in their early 80s attending a sunny Sunday brunch. Darlene wears a soft cream blouse over a light tank top. The fabric moves gently in the breeze, but nothing underneath shows through. She looks calm, graceful, and completely at ease. Rose, on the other hand, wears a pastel top that looks perfectly modest indoors. But the moment she steps into the sunlight, the shirt turns nearly transparent. The outline of her bra is clearly visible. It's not deliberate, it's not provocative, but the effect is unsettling, not because her body's offensive, but because she didn't mean to reveal it. And that's the key. When you lose control over how you're seen, something in your confidence shifts. You walk a little less steadily. You wonder what people are noticing. You stop feeling fully present in the moment. As we age, dignity becomes more than just a concept. It becomes a way of moving through the world. And clothes that accidentally expose what should remain private don't just affect how others see us, they affect how we see ourselves. Because when you feel exposed, you also feel vulnerable. You might laugh it off. You might pretend not to notice. But a part of you tightens, withdraws. And that's not the energy you deserve to carry. The good news is it's an easy fix. A bit of layering, a quick check in natural light, undergarments that match your skin tone instead of your outerwear. These are small choices that return control to your hands. They let you move through the day with certainty, knowing that you're showing exactly what you want to show, nothing more, nothing less. And it's not about covering up every inch. It's about intention. You've spent a lifetime building wisdom, presence, resilience. The world should be seeing that, not the silhouette of your slip through your skirt. So before you head out the door, take a moment, stand by the window, lift your arms, sit, bend, reach. See what others might see before they do. Not because you owe anyone perfection, but because you owe yourself comfort, control, and the freedom to be fully present wherever you go. After all, growing older doesn't mean losing touch with your image. It means refining it, owning it, and sometimes the strongest, most graceful statement you can make is knowing that every part of you is exactly where it's meant to be. Now that we've walked through these gentle reminders together, maybe it's time to pause. Not with criticism, but with care. Maybe you're thinking of that one blouse you haven't worn in a while because something about it feels off, or the shoes by the door that you still slip on out of habit, even though they've lost their shape. Or maybe you're realizing that the belt, the glasses, the prints, the colors, all those quiet choices have been speaking on your behalf more than you realized. The truth is, none of this is about vanity. It's not about dressing up to impress others or pretending to be something you're not. It's about honoring who you are now. Not who you were at 40, not who others expect you to be, but the you who has lived and learned and grown softer in all the right ways. The you who still wakes up in the morning with stories to tell and love to give and dignity to protect. Because the way we present ourselves to the world, it matters. Not for approval, but for alignment. For that quiet moment when you catch your reflection and think, yes, that's still me. You don't have to change everything overnight. Maybe it starts with one choice, swapping out the loud logo for something timeless, letting go of the shirt that never quite fit, choosing a color that brings warmth to your skin and calm to your heart. These aren't just fashion changes, they're affirmations, little ways of saying, I still care, I still see myself, I still deserve to be seen. And you do. You deserve to feel proud of the person looking back at you in the mirror, not just because of what you've worn, but because of what you've carried, the years, the wisdom, the quiet strength. Those things never go out of style. So today, if one of these reflections made you pause, if it stirred something in you, even just a little, don't brush it aside. Listen to it. That's your intuition speaking. That's your dignity tapping you on the shoulder, gently reminding you that it's still here, still alive, still asking to be honored. We dress, not just to cover our bodies, but to express something deeper. And when we do it with intention, with grace, with self-respect, we move through the world differently. We walk taller, we speak clearer, and without ever saying a word, we remind everyone around us that aging doesn't mean fading, it means refining. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If something resonated with you, I'd love to hear it. Leave a comment and share one small change you're thinking of making, or one lesson that stayed with you. And if this video gave you something meaningful, something gentle or helpful, I invite you to like, subscribe, and share it with someone you care about. Your support helps us continue to create spaces like this, where wisdom is celebrated and where age is never something to hide, but something to hold with pride. Until next time, remember this. It's not about dressing younger. It's about dressing with the quiet strength of someone who has already lived deeply. And that is the most beautiful style there is.